How's it going, my fellow silver degenerates? TommyStacking.nyc coming to you on a Tuesday night YouTube live night. And here we go. What are we talking about tonight? I gotta pull my notes out. Make it very official. What's going on, ladies, gentlemen, silver degenerates of all ages? Welcome, welcome. Say something. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're here, and let's have a discussion. So I thought tonight, one of the most common questions I'm asked, hey, Jill, how are you? Good to see you, by new stackers. And sometimes when we're in the process of something, whether it's stacking, whatever we're doing, right, it's important to circle back to our roots. So one of the most important, what's up, Nate? Gambit 47 in the house. Mark, how are you? One of the most important questions I ask back when they ask me, well, what should I stack? Well, should I get Eagle? Should I get this? Should I get that? And I always ask this question. Why are you stacking? Right? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Really? So not only is it why am I stacking, but you have to figure out what your goals are within that, right? So it's really important to think about that. What's up, Charlie Mac, Devil Dog Dave in the house? Great, what's going on? Gray Fur, good to see you. So I really sort of broke it down, and I did it like this. I deconstructed it. I took what I've known about stacking over the last 3 years since I'm a kid, but many years, decades of stacking on and off, of working in the business, of doing all these things. You are absolved of your ignorance. So if you don't know why he said that, guys, I sold that Silver Shield piece last night in the auction, and it says ignorant, and it's sort of a political statement. And when JR was writing the invoices, he's like, the piece is called ignorant, right? He just wrote ignorant. And everybody's kind of like, Tommy, are you charging me $36 for your ignorance, for my ignorance? I'm like, two different people said that. I was like, oh my God. J-Rod in the house. Why are you stacking, not how you stacking? Right, exactly. How you stacking is an important question. It is an important question because it should be a reflection of why you're stacking, right? So I broke it down sort of in a deconstruction way. What do I know about stackers who are heavy into it for years? What's their thought process, right? And there's different types of stackers out there. And I'm going to go through a handful of them, and I'm really going to sort of break it down based on my understanding, right? You'll see what I mean. So I broke it down into these different categories, okay? You have collectors, people that want, the Seven Wonders of the World series. Beautiful piece, by the way. I think it's actually even nicer than the Colossus of Rhodes. They want that Wonder Woman piece, all the stuff on my desk from last night. Very hot coin, 15,000 minted. You have investors, right? An investor is going to look at this and say, you're crazy. And the collector is going to look at the stack of investors' buffaloes or 10-ounce bars or 100-ounce bars and say, you're crazy. That's boring. But the truth is we're all right in our own way. So you have collectors, you have investors, and they sort of meet at an intersectionality. And we'll go through some of this intersectionality in a little while. Another type of stacker is what I call someone who's driven a little bit more, and this is not a derogatory thing. I always try to clarify, because sometimes, like on social media, you can say something and not mean it a certain way, but it sounds like, wow, what are you saying? I'm half a prepper, guys. Okay, it's part of the reason I stack. Okay, because I believe, and I don't talk about this a lot, but I believe that the dollar could theoretically be in trouble within our lifetime. And that's not an uncommon sentiment among stackers. So I call this, and it includes myself, and it's not meant in a derogatory way, but that's sort of a fear-driven reason to stack, right? And I've recognized this in my life because I've gone through that process of fear of the dollar collapsing, certain fears, and then saying, I can't live my life in fear. And that's when I turned away from traditional stacking and got into more collecting. Now, the Silver Degenerates process, right? So they're preppers, okay? There are then, it's another category where we have flippers, traders, and guys like me who are now dealers. So what different types of pieces do all these people collect, right? So your collectors kind of go more for, your series. Well, now it's in my hand. I got to unwrap it, guys. It's part of my OCD. Your collectors are always going to be looking for that piece of the series. They love holding it in their hands. And they're like, oh my God, look at the beautiful, look at how the water ripples. I love the frosted devices on the proof fields. And I love the historic context. And shekels, man, nobody even uses shekels anymore. Now it's, a different denomination and different currency. And it's an ode to a time gone by. And that's what the collector does. And I've definitely got a little bit of that in me. The investor is looking more at buffaloes, or what some people would call generic rounds, which I don't like that word because I think all silver is beautiful. And they're looking to just stack for weight, right? So, the people who stack for weight, and God bless them. I mean, I've been there too. Your cheapest premium items are going to be 100-ounce bars. If you're really going to consider yourself an investor, two things have to be happening. You have to shoot for the lowest premium possible, and which usually comes in the biggest weight. Okay, I'm going to turn you on your head in a second. And the flip side is much like a collector. You want to hold for long term because you take a collector piece like a DC piece, something with an iconic branding to it, right? And there are only 15,000 of these made, and they're out there right now, and they're scarce. But you know what's going to happen in 10 years? A couple thousand of these are going to get destroyed. They're going to be thrown around grandpa's dresser, my dresser. If I'm a grandpa in 15 years, maybe, you never know. And they're going to be scuffed up. They're not going to be beautiful. And in 15 years, you're only going to have a handful of these that are really surviving in a mint state condition, right? So it's sort of also a long-term thing if you're really a collector. Now, sometimes, like I said, there's intersectionality, right? So both your investors and your collectors, although they spend money, we spend money differently. Trust me, I love my collector pieces. I love the animal-shaped coins. I love Libertads. I'm happy to pay a premium for them, to hold them in my hand because I love them. And I love having them, and I love completing date sets. I mean, less so now that I'm a dealer, but this is something I've always loved. But collectors and investors both have to be in it for the long term, because that's where you get your value, either as a collector or an investor. And the collector also has the added benefit of the joy of the pieces, the joy of the diversity. Right? So that's sort of what you're paying for. Lower mintages, that beauty, that diversity of pieces, and so on. The preppers, they stack differently. Okay? The big difference in the way a prepper should stack is a prepper is really focused on fractional gold, fractional silver, fractional platinum. Devil Dog Dave says he used to stack 10-ounce bars. No longer am I doing that. I'm going to tell you something. I just sold 4 10-ounce bars today. I think on those 40 ounces, I maybe lost about $5, but they haven't been moving. So at that point, I said, I'd rather lose $5 and get that $1,200 and put it into something that's going to make money for me instead of it sitting in my vault. That being said, I don't like to focus on bigger weights, even though that's where your lower premiums are. So I'm with you on that one, Devil Dog Dave. Gray Fur says he's a collector. Jill is a collector. J Rod says, I went from prepper to collector and back to prepper with the inflation sneaking up on us. Okay. And that's where we're talking again about intersectionality, right? So we can all evolve as stackers. Let me just see what other people are saying. I want to address that a little bit more. I'm collecting. My boy is 10, and it will be for him when he's done. So when you're 80. Yep. So that's really nice, Robert. And if you can get like superhero pieces and things that'll bring joy to your 10-year-old, that's amazing, right? Joy to the world. I do pay extra to hold it in my hand. That is true. Fractionals are the way to go. So J-Rod, going from prepper to collector, here's a philosophy that I have on collector versus prepper, right? So we talk about the emotions behind these different styles of stacking. When you're a collector, it's joy-based. Oh my God, this Wonder Woman piece is awesome. Look at the lasso of truth. And, oh, is that the Whataburger symbol in the sky? Oh, is that the same skyline as the Batman coin? Oh, DC has done it again, right? That's what a collector does. And there's joy there. A prepper gets a fractional. And like I said, you guys know me. I'm not judging because I have a box of fractional, right? So... But the philosophy or the emotion behind prepping is a little bit of fear. J-Rod said it. Inflation is sneaking up on us. I'm afraid that the money I have in the bank is going to be worthless. Will it be worthless? I don't know, man. I mean, one of the reasons I don't talk about the I word and investment and so on. Hey, what's up, Pat? Good to see you. Is because the Fed and governments are so devious. When people obtain power at that level, they do not let it go, and never underestimate the extent to which they will employ tools to rig the game. So the dollar could become absolutely worthless, and they'll roll out a digital dollar, and they'll create new artificial value for it, starting at a new baseline. And everybody's like, well, I guess there's no inflation anymore, right? But it's there, So there is that difference with the prepper versus collector versus investor mentality. A flipper trader dealer typically looks, and this is how I now look at silver, right? It's sort of like the first rule of real estate investing. The deal has to make sense now, right? If I buy Wonder Woman at 41, I got to be able to sell it for 46, for example, right? That's how I'm going to make my living. Sometimes $3 at a time, sometimes $4 at a time, sometimes $5 at a time. And you just grind it out. And that's how I make my living. But every deal I look at is with that eye. Okay, I got to pay 41 for this. Hey, Joe, good to see you, man. I got to pay 41 for this. What can I get for it? Can I make my 10%? Can I make my 15%? In some cases, I make 20%. Absolutely. And typically on the deals when you're making 20%, your layout's a lot higher. Trust me, except for gold. You're laying out a lot and making much less profit margin wise. But, so that's the lens I typically look through initially. What do I mean by initially? So I try to cater to all my fellow soda degenerates. I try to cater to investors. I try to cater to collectors. I try to cater to preppers. And I even try to cater to other flippers and sellers on Instagram. That being said, that the lens that I buy with represents a very diverse, balanced stack. Balanced stack, right? So for somebody like me, I always want to have some fractional around because what I don't sell is my stack ultimately. And there's plenty here, for sure. And I don't mind holding it long-term because of that investor side. And when it's a Peanuts piece or a Wonder Woman piece, I'm happy because I love looking at it. When people come over, I'm like, oh, check this out. I do that, when non-stackers may come over for a visit. And certainly, it's there. If silver ever skyrockets, maybe you'll see me doing my next auction from a beach in Mexico for the rest of my life. I don't know. But, it's important to understand why you're stacking. And when you understand why you're stacking, that's when you'll answer the question, how you stacking. When it says a collector, it doesn't mean that you can't be a flipper. What do you mean, Tommy? You're saying they're all different. Then you're saying that they converge and they're the same. Well, because that's part of the Silver Degenerates process, right? It's not static. Just like Jonathan said, he goes from a prepper to collector. And then sometimes maybe he'll get something and it gets tucked away in the safe. And that's appealing to his investor side. We can be all these things. Primarily, though, we're usually one, right? Primarily, we usually identify as one. I always identified as a collector. Oh, man. Well, thanks for joining us, brother. I appreciate that you're here at all, man. I really do. Fantasy football is starting soon. Charlie Mack runs fantasy football every year. Silver prizes. And by the way, wardrobe courtesy of Charlie Mack. So it's important to recognize these things. It's important to recognize how you're stacking and why you're stacking, how you stacking. And I think that empowers you as a stacker because you learn to turn a blind eye to people's bickering because many people put themselves in one box and they don't want to know anything else, and anybody who's not stacking the way I'm stacking, boy, there must be something wrong with them. And you see this type of idiocy creep up on social media once in a while, and it just, to me, it makes me laugh because when you think so highly of yourself that you can put down collectors, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are buying pieces that they love. If you are so arrogant that you think you know better than them and how they should spend their money, you need God's blessings. So, anybody that tells you this is what you should be doing, no. What you should be doing is what you want to be doing, based on somewhat of a strategy. Drunk buying has got me too many times. Oh, you're not alone. Precious metals are up and down. That's right. And, that's why we dollar cost average. Yeah. Oh, there's plenty out there for sure. At the end of the day, we all work hard for our money. It's not exclusive to me or anybody in this community. A lot of us, many of us, most of us work extremely hard for our money, and we're entitled to do as we see fit with it. Stack what you like for whatever reasons you like. Exactly right, Dave. And I will say something, though. Having gone through the prepper phase and yes, somewhat fear-based, particularly in that 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cycle, I was stacking mostly out of fear. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I was listening to a lot of YouTube information that's out there. And some of the people I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and I believe there's a place. And I do believe that we should have a healthy fear for our economy, for our nation, But what happens is you can only be afraid for so long before you snap yourself out of it and say, well, I've been afraid and stacking out of fear for 4 or 5 years now, and it's not happening, right? The dollar hasn't crashed. And eventually you shift. So my fear has gone, from, I don't want to say an unhealthy level, but a primary motivator to a healthy place. Hey, what's up, Frank? Good to see you. Guys, please, there's 23 people in here. Smash that like button. It helps. It helps. It says that people like me on YouTube. Don't you like me? No. But the other major point of intersectionality that I want to talk about is if you believe silver is going to go up, it doesn't matter why you stack or how you stack if silver goes up. But if you're stacking out of joy and silver goes up, and you're stacking out of fear and silver goes up, the end result is going to be the same. So I always lean towards stacking out of joy. Overprepared than underprepared. 100%, J-Rod. I like to say, be prepared, not scared. Keep any fear you may have of an economic collapse or a government breakdown or whatever those fears might be. Some of them I just won't even say the words. But whatever those fears are, keep them in a healthy place. It's okay to have those fears. It's okay to have concerns, right? What's not okay is to let it consume you. You have people here. Somebody reached out to me not long ago, and they're like, Tommy, I'm buying silver. I'm probably spending more than I should, but I'm scared, and this and that. I'm really nervous about what's going to happen. And I said, man, just give me a call. Let's talk about this. And we talked. And I said, listen, I've been doing this for a long time, and the fear cycle is real, and it repeats itself. Right now, a lot of the same fear is being recycled as it was in 2006. And when you realize that the fear is recycled, you can understand it a little bit better. It doesn't mean that it's not impossible for, I don't know about hyperinflation, but we're certainly seeing inflation rear its ugly head. And that bodes well for metals. If you're holding physical metals, it's a good place for you to be. Constitutional. I have my own theory about constitutional, which we won't get into, but constitutional is a very recognizable form of fractional silver, for sure. The I word. Silver prepping grandma, thank you. Love you, Regina. But, at the end of the day, it's important to know, A, we're all in this together. And B, not only are we all in it together, but we need to sort of collaborate, right? So even as stackers, collaboration over competition can be a philosophy. It doesn't have to just be for sellers or people who have a business like myself, right? And it can start with something as simple as not knocking somebody that does something differently than you do. If you like Tetris and Pac-Man, by all means, get Tetris and Pac-Man because you're still taking an ounce of silver from the ground. And that's a good thing for all stackers. And anybody who knocks that is cutting off their nose to spite their face. I don't want to scare any stackers away. I don't want to intimidate any stackers. I don't want anybody to stop stacking. I want more stackers. And if Pac-Man gets you in the game, God bless you. And if Tetris gets you in the game and King Kong gets you in the game and Wonder Woman gets you in the game, God bless you. And that should be the message of all silver degenerates. And it's an important message. It's a message of we're in this together, and I don't care if you collect constitutional and you're keeping it from going to the refiner or if you're collecting whatever. That's why I said I have my own opinions about things, what's better, what's worse. For you to decide, though, not for me to decide for you. Smash that like button. Guido Stacking in the house. There's a talented man with a beautiful YouTube channel. Get it, Guido Stacking. Yes. So, silver degenerates for life, baby. That message is really important. When yeah, I'll just tell a little story real fast. When I first started doing dual auctions, I got some crap from other sellers because that time, if any of you have been here for a couple years, you know how much Instagram especially has grown in the last few years. And in the beginning, there were only a handful of bigger sellers, if you will. And now it's just like so many sellers. But when I started, it was just a handful of sellers. And I said, I'm going to do dual auctions. I'm going to promote other small sellers. You're crazy. Why would you create competition for us? What's wrong with you? And there were some other choice words in there too. So I had to tell some people some choice words back. But the truth is a vibrant selling community will grow our platforms. They will grow Facebook. They will grow Instagram. They will grow TikTok. They will grow whatever platform you choose. But vibrant sellers are necessary for growth, right? Content producing sellers that are grinding and doing the work and doing whatever people enjoy. Because you got to do something that people enjoy to bring them. Right. Guys, thank you all for joining me tonight, Tuesday night. We're talking about the different types of stackers. We're talking about collaboration over competition. We're talking about growing the community and connecting these different types of stackers. Just a quick rehash. Some of the different types of stackers I was talking about are the collector, the investor, the prepper, and the flipper, trader, dealer. Right. So sort of 4 categories. But the intersectionality is really all, if we're in it for the long term, as much as possible. Love you too, Terry. Matt Sykes in the house. Good to see you. Dios mio. Eddie Martinez. No, man. Do I look a little more buff than normal? It's the shirt. It's very slimming. But all those factors that converge, and one of the reasons I'm very hesitant about, calling people out on Instagram, it goes back to what I said. It is for all of our benefit, whether you're a collector, an investor, a prepper, or a flipper trader. You don't want to lose one person in the community. And discord, animosity, nonsense, that chases people away, right? The love of what we do is what's growing this community. So you can definitely put that out there, whether you're a collector, an investor, a prepper. On the positive side, I talked to Charlie Mack, Jonathan. When's $100 an ounce? My God. I don't know when we're going to have $100 an ounce, but I believe that we are in a cycle very similar that started last year, very similar cycle to the 2008-2011 cycle. If you want to know what that means, hit me up on Instagram. And if you know what happened in 2011, you have an idea. But the way we had that big dip last year, and now silver's double what it was from around this time last year, well, March, April, that happened in 2008. 2011, we had $50 silver. So it's important. Will, I love you, Will. I don't think any of it's impossible, but technology is increasingly become the biggest consumer of silver, fueled mostly by solar panels. So you should know that. It's very important. It's very important to be educated about as much stuff as you can. Guys, smash that like button. 27 people, 19 likes. I'll find out who you are, and I'll send Charlie Mack after you, and he'll get Vicky to give you kisses. Kisses from Charlie Mack's dog, Vicky. I see that dog slobber. That's one dog I wouldn't want to be kissed by, guys. So that's a serious threat. Tech is the future of everything. For sure. Will, I love you, man. Twiff wants it to be $40 an ounce. We have no control of where it's going to go. I do think it's going to keep going up, though, particularly if you start factoring in things like inflation. So understand the difference between the types of stackers. Understand why you stack, and then you'll be able to answer how you stacking. And create harmony, because all stackers are united. There is no one right or wrong way. A collector should never say, you're an investor, you're boring. An investor should never say, collector, you spend too much on your premiums. And, nobody should say, prepper, you shouldn't be scared. You should do this for fun. And nobody should say, you're a flipper. What are you doing? There's other ways to make better money. And, I mean, ad nauseum, we could do that. But if we empower each other, it's actually good for all of us, regardless of the type of stacker we are. Who's got some questions? Who's got some thoughts about any of this? Let me hear some thoughts. Let me hear some questions. Anything besides a comment about Charlie's dog? Okay. Comments about Charlie's dog are quite welcome. Let's see. Would love to add an Iron Man to my collection. Robert, DM me on Monday. Let's see if I can save a list for once. I got it. Heavy collision. Robert, you will have Iron Man. You will have Iron Man. Where do I see this community in 20 years? If you mean social media, that's too far for me to speculate. I have concerns. There is a very serious reason I do not discuss politics on Instagram. It's something that's hard for stackers to do, i.e., not discuss politics. But I think it's important that we stay gray, right? It's important for us to love freedom, to love liberty, yes, but be careful of the politics on Instagram. Instagram is not a public forum. It is a private forum, and therefore the First Amendment does not apply. Okay? So always remember that. Be careful about what you post. Be gray, meaning be neutral. Don't be red. Don't be blue. Be gray. They call it a gray man principle. But in 20 years, I fear that that's going to be that problem is gonna weigh down on this community on social media. But at the end of the day, this community is way too strong. It'll prevail one way or another. Any good places for traders to go? Gotta switch up portions of the stack. I don't particularly trade because I'm a seller, because I'm a licensed dealer. It's hard for me to give value for the person. I tend to pay more than a lot of dealers out there, but still, it's hard sometimes. You know, I do my best, and people come to me, and we make it happen. But trades are best like peer-to-peer. You know, if any of you guys do trades, Sammy Farr, I think that's your name also on Instagram. Is that correct? We have Three Gods, Any Word on a Goddess series. I can't imagine that they would separate it. I'd be surprised if they would separate it. Do I buy personal collections? Yes, but I tend to not focus on numismatics. I regularly buy large bullion lots. Depending on what it is, I pay anywhere from 2 to 5 over, sometimes more. I just bought Eagles from somebody for around 33. You know, my general guideline is that if it's around my wholesale, I'll buy it, and I'll help you out if it helps you out. Sometimes I can't afford to give, like, you know, when people buy high premium collector stuff. So let me talk about this. Here we go. If you're a collector, okay, and you're buying something, let's say it's $40 or $50 an ounce, okay, you can't sell it 2 weeks later. It's not going to work for you. You're going to get obliterated, guys. Don't buy if you're not in a position to buy. Don't buy big if you're not in a position to buy big. Dollar cost averaging, steady as she goes, guys. All too often I see people buy as a collector large lots because they're just like, I love this piece, I love this piece, I love this piece. And they're spending $40 or $45 or $50 an ounce on poured silver, and then they're in a jam. Well, I can't give you that. I mean, these guys will wholesale to me for 40, right? For example, you paid 50. So now what am I going to give you? If it's, you know, when they're wholesaling to me at 40, I'm usually getting 10 of one piece, and that helps me make money. If I'm getting one piece here or one piece there, I can't move that very quickly. That is not a cop-out, by the way, guys. That is a reality of a dealer business model. If you want to sell me 100 ounces in pours and it's, you know, 25 ounce pieces, that's going to take me 20 weeks to sell. That's going to almost literally, because I can't keep putting the same thing in every auction. I have to put it out here and there. I don't have a showroom where people come in and say, oh, look at this, look at this. So it becomes a little tricky. Be careful on the collector side, guys. Make sure you're in a position to be paying collector premiums, because you will take a big haircut if you sell too fast, too soon. I want to see what Guido Stackin said. Interesting. Well, Guido, I think that with social media, we have that opportunity on Instagram, and I know that some guys are working on TikTok a little bit more, and I think that the nature of social media is change and evolution too, right? So if you look at like statistics and I'm sorry, I'm fried. But if you look at the data, the average person on, let's say, Facebook is 45 to 50. The average person on Instagram is 35 to 40. The average person on TikTok is probably, 25-ish average, right? So you see this evolution. The only way to engage younger stackers on social media is for institutional stackers, somebody like myself or others, because I don't have the time right now, but to get on to TikTok, for example, or whatever the next hot social media platform is. So that's. I hope that answers something, Guido Stacking. Personal question, J Rod. Not shifting. Not showing Bitcoin. Tech is always evolving for sure. It gets on me sometimes. Hey, do you think it's a wise decision to do it? But yeah, look, as long as you're not overdoing it, dollar cost averaging over time, don't spend your rent money, don't spend your bill money. When people ask me how much should they spend, this is the only opinion I give. So I see silver as a hobby, a store of wealth as in savings, and a potential I word. Okay, potential, but I'll leave that for licensed financial advisors. That being said, because it's a hobby, you're allowed, or you should take your play money, right? I'd rather take my play money and buy silver than, let's say, go to the movies. I'll watch something on Netflix. That's me, right? Well, okay, Tommy. So I would spend, $40 a week on entertainment. Okay, well, there's part of your silver budget. Tommy, otherwise, I also save. I put in the bank $200 a week. Well, because silver is a store of wealth, I don't think it's a bad idea to take a portion of that savings and put it into something that's going to hold value, right? It's a known. Your Nike sneakers aren't going to hold value. Well, I guess some of them do. It's a whole game out there. But be careful. You don't want to overspend, for sure. Andrew Schmidt. Hey, what's up, brother? How are you, Schmitty? Of course I remember you. I know you shut down your account and you went to that other platform. I actually signed up for it. I just don't have the time to get over there, brother. Hey, Selfish Jim in the house. Yeah, Andrew, I don't have time to get over there, man. And I wish I did. But what's it called? Begins with a C, right? It was the one that we were shutting it down. Miss you too, man. Miss you too. How's your mom? That's what I said. Her, she says you spent this much, and I'm like, no, I didn't. Right. I tell that story all the time. When I first started with my ex, and my ex is like, I was doing this a couple months. I'm working like a dog. I was working my two other jobs, and then doing this part time. Andrew, what's that? The app that you went to? All right, Andrew. But she would say to me, yeah, condolences, brother. My ex would say to me that, are you actually making money doing this? And I would say, well, I think so. Well, where's the money? And I'd point to a box. I'd be like, it's over there. That's basically what it was. I mean, especially in the beginning, if I was profiting $200 a week, I would immediately take it and put it right back into silver. You know, you are family, Andrew. Lots of love, man. Yes, Charlie Mack does review precious metals and has good games. Guys, any type of questions you have on the different types of stackers or anything like that? Guys, you know I'm always available for private chats when I can find a few minutes, for sure. Yeah, I hope you come back to IG, Andrew. God bless you, man. My prayers. Good people right there. Peace out. All right. Any more questions? Otherwise, it's Tuesday night. We usually keep it pretty short. I'm really grateful for the love and support. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Am I the only one that does that? Pat, it's very heavy silver, and I explain it like this: silver is half, okay, of its all-time highs. Gold is about 90% of its all-time highs. So, do you want something at 10% off, or do you want something at 50% off? That's kind of how I see it. Also, I see them as two different metals, and I don't think that they deserve a ratio. Gold is money. Gold is an international medium of exchange. Prove me wrong. Okay? And silver is an industrial workhorse. It is viewed by many as money, but it is really functional mostly as a commodity for industrial use. Why am I sweating so much? Oh, this is nothing, man. This is nothing. It's hot down here. I have low ceilings in the vault. And it probably also has something to do with the fact that I'm on like a 14-hour day so far. A little more work to do. And there you have it, folks. He pulls through. LOL. Thanks, Tommy. I pull through. So, guys, anything else? I didn't pay the electric bill. I bought more silver. It's probably why she's my ex. Yep. Thank you, Pat. Yeah, you have to understand what metals are for. When people ask me platinum versus gold versus silver versus palladium versus, whatever you're looking at, rhodium, you got to know what the metal is for. How is it used in the real world? And when you understand how it's used in the real world, you'll understand that they are subject to different dynamics. One of the reasons I am leery of gold is because I believe that as an international medium of exchange, the way technology is growing, it can be replaced. Now, I know that is blasphemy in this community in many ways. And I also do sell gold, and I also do keep gold. I have plenty of gold tucked away. Like I said, whatever I don't sell is my deep stack. I don't liquidate it. I always have a few ounces, something. I always have some platinum floating around. But the truth is, I don't have long-term faith. That doesn't mean anything about short-term. So, like I said, I'm not giving any kind of investment advice. Disclaimer. I do not have much faith in gold long-term, and I do not have much faith in cryptocurrency long-term. Double blasphemy. Now I'm gonna get hate mail for sure from everywhere. The reason I don't believe either one has long-term values, I believe that governments are going to employ their own digital currencies that will make international trade, nation-to-nation, intergovernmental trade far easier than shipping tons of gold. So I don't know what happens with the gold then. Maybe it goes down in value and it takes over some of silver space in the industrial world. So it will still have plenty of value. But I believe that silver is the way to go. Plutonium. We don't talk about these things, Twiff. J-Rod, what about platinum for military purposes? Look, so from a prepping perspective, I don't believe in this sustained apocalyptic end of the world. I don't believe in The Walking Dead. Uh, and if you do, you're probably going to be wanting to spending your money on canned food and bury that instead of gold or silver. That being said, silver has intrinsic value for sure. Far, yes, I'm going to leave it at that. We can talk a lot more about that. But, you know, at the end of the day, if bad things happen, whether it's inflation or this or that, it's going to be rough times, but the world is not going to end, right? So that being said, what you have is pockets of severe turbulence. And during those pockets, the user of last resort for any metal will always be a refiner because metals will always be needed. Okay. Sammy, I actually agree with that. I actually agree with that 100%. So I was talking to somebody in Sweden about 2 years ago, fellow stacker in Sweden. And now, if any of you follow this, Sweden is probably the most. Let me digress. Sweden is probably going to be the first country to go completely cashless. Okay, right now, I think in America, something like, don't quote me, but it's ballpark, 75% of the transactions are cashless. Okay, maybe a little bit more. In Sweden, it's something like 90+% of transactions are cashless. Most banks in Sweden do not carry cash. So, all transactions almost are digital. They'll probably be the first to go completely digital and do away with cash and become a cashless society. How do you conduct business anonymously? I asked my friend. He says, well, we have cryptocurrency now. Oh, okay. I said, so when there's no more cash and you're conducting, maybe you want your nickel bag. I don't know. I don't judge. Maybe you want your pornography. I don't know. I don't judge. But if you want to conduct business anonymously, I said, and now you have no cash and now you have cryptocurrency. I said, what happens if they shut down the cryptocurrency somehow? What happens if they shut down the internet in your country? What happens if you have a sustained blackout for, I don't know, a week, right? Not the end of the world. 1 week of a blackout. That's going to be like 5 days of the end of the world. But he said, well, if I don't have cash and I don't have crypto because something electronic happens, whether it's a blackout or a denial of service, or it could be a lot of things. I don't know. Right. He said, I guess if you don't have silver, you're, and that was that conversation. So metals will be a last means of private exchange when things go digital. I agree. Sammy Farr. There was zombies in 2020. There were zombies on some local levels, right? It started with the door. It started with the deer. Charlie Mack reviews precious metals. Anyone able to pop in for a few after need two people help him on Restream. Sure, I'll go. I'll check you out, Charlie. I think. Yep. Trying to go cashless. EMPs will ruin anything digital, solar, flare, or foreign attack. That is correct, Jonathan. However, whether it's a solar flare or a man-made EMP, it would have to be really powerful to go beyond an extremely localized area. Okay? So, I mean, even a massive nuclear weapon wouldn't knock out all of New York City, let's say. It could knock out the electricity, but it wouldn't have the EMP effect. So, in other words, it would knock out enough to cause a collapse of the power grid, right? But an EMP really fries circuitry. It wouldn't fry all the circuitry, even though it would knock out the whole grid, if that makes sense. EMPs are very localized, as are solar flares. They are highly localized. All right. Guys, this is a great conversation. I actually love talking to you all. I love the input that you guys give. Please smash that like button if you haven't. Tonight we had a nice conversation about the different types of stackers. Oh, yeah. Yep. Listen, I was in New York when our power was out for a couple days. It happens, you know. What was that, 2004, Charlie? So what do you think about stacking paper? Is it a wise thing to do, or should it be placed elsewhere? Okay, Jonathan, the problem with that is that's not exactly true to my knowledge, and I could be wrong. I'm not an astrophysicist, but it's like any kind of energy, it diminishes with distance, right? If I scream in your ear, it's going to really hurt. If you're 10 feet away from me and I scream at the same level, you're going to be like, what'd you say? I'm just making that up, but you get the idea. So it's the same way with an EMP. If it's right in the city's ear, it's going to like knock it out, right? Whatever's right there. And if it's up in the upper atmosphere, it diminishes. It loses the magnetic pulse energy. So I don't know. You know, the problem is it doesn't take much to knock out an electrical grid. You only have to knock out a few transformers. So it's not an impossibility, but those transformers could be replaced very quickly. Sort of is the thing. All right. So 2004, Summer in the City. That's right. I remember it well. It was a very scary thing because they didn't know what happened. But I love you guys. Always love these conversations. J-Rod, we can talk about this stuff all day, every day, anytime, man. I love that kind of stuff. Kind of loses power all the time. Charlie, you need me to come check you out on Charlie Mack Reviews, Precious Metals? I'll sign off and I'll go right over to your page, brother. But I love you guys. How you stacking? Check out this video. Leave some comments. Smash the like button. Do all those YouTube things. I just love coming here and talking to you without the pressure of selling, where it's just us connecting. And that was really awesome seeing Andrew Schmidt tonight. Good friend, community member. Got frustrated with some of the censorship on Instagram. Can't blame him. And I hope he comes back. Definitely hope he comes back. But I love you guys to death. Okay. And I'm going to try and make this work, Charlie. I love you, brother. Just telling you guys have a good night. Love you guys. Pat, I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Hit me up with some ideas of things that you would like to discuss. Shoot me something, okay? And let's see. Love you guys. How you stacking?